morning, everybody.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? I sound horrible.
I wasn't going to say anything, but...
Well, I've been fighting whatever. I feel fine. I sound like I'm death on a stick. I have my Barry White voice on. Barry White.
Sing to me, baby. Don't say to me, baby.
Okay.
Just kidding.
One day I will be appreciated.
Hey, dude, you have an amazing voice. You just don't like to sing for some reason.
No, I didn't say I didn't like to sing. I said I can't sing. That's what,
Whoever sold you that lie?
I don't know. But
I'm a singer.
you're a singer?
I'm a singer.
You singer?
I hear you sing. You got a very nice voice.
Well,
and you
thank
stay
you.
on key.
Well, look at there.
He does?
See?
Yes.
See what's happening to me. See?
When you know the song, you rock it.
Oh, Jimmy Buffett, yeah.
True. I like some Jimmy Buffett. Who likes Jimmy Buffett? Come on, there's got to be more of us out there.
Cheeseburger in
In
paradise.
Amen.
That's right.
See? That's a very spiritual song right there.
I love you.
So anyway, well, for the past week or so, I've just been fighting some kind of
Junk.
So I will give her all I got, and you may have to do some more of the talking. But anyway,
You'll finally let me talk?
you know, you get up early in the morning to bless people, and all you get's abuse. You know what I'm saying? All you get. Excuse me. So I may have to. This may have to be a shorter one.
Tell us what we're talking about, and I'll be happy
somebody's
to
calling.
tell us what we're chatting about. And
Well, I've been, besides coughing,
some coffee.
I have been, man, everybody's just up and texting and calling
Everybody
this
is
morning.
our phone is blowing
just
up.
blowing up right
and we're
here.
staring right at it.
But anyway, so for the two people that are there with us, sorry, we're not
Yes.
trying to make this be any longer than it has to be.
No.
But no, just have been reading. So I'm gonna have you put in the notes or the comments, the show notes or whatever they're called. I'm gonna have you put in. I was listening to a podcast by was one of my podcasts I listen to every week called the Great Man Podcast.
Yeah.
By Stephen Mansfield. And last week he had one. No, I'm sorry. That is one podcast I listen to. There's two men's podcasts I listen to, and I get them confused sometime in my brain. The Great Man Podcast that I just mentioned, but the one I'm actually talking about
That you're going to cite
that
today.
we're going to cite today is the Art of Manliness Podcast, and I forgot the host's name that he does that because the name of his podcast is cool enough. You don't have to remember his podcast, but the Art of Manliness Podcast, and he interviewed a guy named Billy Baker, if I'm not remembering wrong, on a book that this Billy Baker wrote on loneliness, on the impact of loneliness and the kind of the epidemic, or even they're saying maybe pandemic of loneliness.
Yeah, in America.
In America, number one, for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
Because like one of the stats I just heard in the book yesterday when I was doing work and driving is that the United States of America, we're the 18th from the bottom
Oh,
on loneliness as a country.
wow.
So when they interview Americans, we are like 18th from the bottom of the most lonely.
Lonely.
We're beating out England, but it's real close.
Man.
So, or the UK. So, but there's just a pandemic of loneliness out there. So I guess I wanted to ask a question. Tell us what your experience is. I mean, do you feel lonely? Do you feel like you are by yourself? Do you feel like you're not known?
By myself.
Do you feel like you're not understood? Do you feel like you're not heard? Do you feel lonely? Just to, if you're willing to share that, and if you don't want to share it on the public comments, you can
That's totally
just
right.
message us. We'd
Yeah.
love to hear from you to just know if that's even something that's in our audience's sphere.
Right, yeah.
Because again, you always wonder who do they poll.
Yeah. But
Who do they poll? They they call a whole list of single people on Valentine's Day. That's probably going to skew the poll. But or do they call everybody the day before Christmas, and that probably skews the poll too? I don't know. But anyway, just this interesting thoughts, especially as it regards to men, but it really applies to all people, because they were saying it's definitely applies to you ladies as well. But just this epidemic, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, of loneliness in our culture and its effects on people. And actually in the research that, and I'll list his book because I'm listening to the audiobook now. My only caveat with Billy Baker's audiobook is he swears a lot.
Oh.
I mean, it is not even like an action movie fiction book. He's just a swearer, I guess.
Well.
I don't know. So, I mean, at your own discretion to listen to that. The content is so far great. Just the
delivery.
The delivery is poor. And so...
you can just distill the information for
yeah.
me.
Yeah. Just because, I mean,
I won't listen to it.
He likes
the story
the...
so much.
He
Just because
He seems to like the F-bomb for some reason.
Well, then no.
Quite well.
Just distill some of the information.
So that's what I'm looking at doing. But just to let you know where I'm coming from and stuff. But it just struck me as, because, a year or two ago in the church, we did a series of teachings on mental illness and how Jesus has paid the price for mental illness and overcoming mental illness. And I was just shocked that in Alabama, it is the number 2 health concern is mental illness, right behind obesity, especially childhood obesity. Those are the top 2 for Alabama. The top 2 health concerns for our state are obesity, and then right behind it is mental illness, and loneliness is hugely tied
to
mental illness. And so it's just an interesting thing that in the day that we live in, there's more and more of this coming to light about, I guess, loneliness, about this issue. And you'd find this interesting, say in the book, they're talking how that now they can tie, not as the primary cause, but definitely in the top primary causes of every major illness we suffer.
Wow.
Is loneliness.
Wow.
Like everything.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it kind of just to let people know where the history of this came from is, my mom has been diagnosed with vascular dementia, and so as a family, we're kind of walking through how do you care for an elderly parent or relative that is starting to show some signs of dementia and this and that and the other, and trying to read over, okay, well, what are the causes? What are and it's, again, in dementia, it is the top cause. There's 2 things that are the top causes, according to my very limited research of dementia. It's hearing loss and loneliness, and they're tied together.
They're totally tied together.
Because they say as you begin to hear less, you isolate more, and as you isolate more, so goes your memory.
Yeah.
Because, and they say that those, at the top.
Oh my goodness.
At the top shelf, they say is get you. So all of us out there that I'm approaching 50, they say get your hearing checked. Be proactive on protecting and supporting your hearing, and then, but the biggest thing is get social, because I've wondered why the doctors, because they don't tell you, doctors don't tell you why necessarily, but it's this, they just tell you what to do, but they don't tell you why to do it. And I don't know, maybe if you're a doctor out there, you can tell me why y'all do that. But I've noticed,
we're just too inquisitive.
Maybe, I don't know, but as we've taken mom to the doctor, I've noticed she needs more social interaction, and it's like a push, which is good, because I would agree, because my mom was living, which was shocking to me, she was living quite the hermitess lifestyle for the last 10. Oh yeah, you didn't notice that?
No, I thought she still talked to Miss Kathy and all of them.
Well, talking and being in a relationship is, they're talking about be with people.
Social interaction.
So it's social interaction.
Different than just a phone call once in a while.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about some of that this week. So I just said all that as the groundwork of what we want to talk about this week and possibly some of next week.
Yeah.
Just because, one of the main reasons we want to have these coffee times with you guys is that we are endeavoring in this to talk about relational issues, family issues, interpersonal issues.
Sure.
Those are the things that we want to really try to help people with. That's what's in our heart, and so this has just come to light more and more. So anyway, so we're going to talk about.
We will probably start talking about having a close-knit family and having a culture of, I'm just off the top of my head here, communicating with each other, asking each other some hard questions, or going through a little questionnaire like we just did this morning with our family members, just to open the conversation up, because people don't walk around with a t-shirt that says I'm lonely. You know, you have to kind of dig deep, and you have to ask questions and kind of just help them even assess how they're feeling. So we might dive into that a little bit more. I just wanted to kind
that's awesome. Well, and I want
to, our older kids, if you're a grandparent, how are they feeling in the experience of parenting, like all of that, right?
Well, let's do this, because I would love for you to share that little test we took, because it's the one mentioned in the book.
In the book, okay.
Right. So here in the notes and the stuff, you'll find, the link to the podcast that I would recommend you listening to, the Art of Manliness podcast, because it is really good. We'll reference the book again, just precautionary warning. We're
referencing it.
To reference the book. If you want to listen to it or read it, just fair warning, the author likes to swear. And so just heads up. And so then the third one would be this loneliness test that's out there, to look at this loneliness test and just to see, because it was very interesting when I took it this morning before we got on here, just to kind of say, I want to take it again, because it is one of those, I always find those questions kind of, well, they seem tricky. They seem like,
I don't know.
They seem kind of, to make you so.
Yeah, loneliness test, Alicia.
So, well, and again, for Alicia who's joined us here, it's we're talking this week about combating loneliness, and it is a growing epidemic in our country, right? A growing just a growing epidemic of people who are suffering from loneliness. It's been linked now to every known major disease. We missed a lot. I'm sorry, we started a little bit early, I guess, too, on our side. So just because
we've been not doing our Spanish one because we're always pushing it. So this morning we're sitting here. We're just ready. Waiting for the clock.
We happen to be ready early.
Let's just start. Yeah.
So we'll always shooting for around the 7:30 mark, and we apologize. Yeah. We will get back to being consistently on time, not too early, not too late, and not too long-winded, and so, which is. So with that, if those that are watching, do you feel loneliness? Do you feel lonely? Do you go through, would you say you are lonely? Yes, no,
Do you know?
Have
you ever really, really thought about it?
And again, some of the interesting ones that I thought, and we'll kind of land the plane on this and start into next week, because I want to talk about from a biblical perspective how we can combat loneliness, since this is a thing apparently in our culture. How we combat loneliness, and this will be probably a highly practical talk that we'll do this week and probably part of next week. But I'd love to just hear from where you guys are. Do y'all feel lonely? Do you think you're lonely? And in this little test, if you take the little test, we give some of the questions that kind of I found intriguing, more from a spiritual dynamic, because of what the Lord has told me that I can identify from the Spirit about our church family. Is a lot of the questions are: do you feel like people know you?
I know.
Do you feel like people, that there are people who they know who you are, that you're, how did they say some of those questions?
They really know you.
They really know you, that they understand
that you are
you,
understood.
that you're understood, that you're, do you feel like you're understood? Do you feel like people know you?
That you have things in common with people. Anyway,
because the reason why I say that is because sometimes, like you were jokingly saying, I'm surrounded by 5 children all day. I'm never alone. I'd love to be alone. That's the silliest thing. I'd love to be alone. I'd love to go to the bathroom alone. I'd love to.
Without mom.
And so
give me a minute.
And so sometimes what we say is we feel like, well, no, I'm surrounded by people all day, every day. So I'm not alone. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, again, do you feel like you're known? Do you feel like you're understood? Do you feel like
Those are very good questions.
Yeah, very good. And Alicia, you can feel like you're alone with kids. You can feel like you're alone in the middle of a crowd of thousands of people.
Yeah.
People who, and that's what they're finding out, the people who are surrounded by people and they still feel that they are alone. So, when before we started our church here, the church plant out of our main campus, we were praying. And I remember I went one Saturday to our Saturday morning prayer at our Irondale campus. It was just praying and as I still do, seeking the Lord about, Lord, which way do you want us to go? What are we endeavoring to build, and what do you want us to build? And I just felt like the Lord gave me three things. He said, build a place where people can belong, build a place where they can become. Now what we mean by that, they can become who they already are.
Yeah.
Not become something they're not.
Right.
But they can become and they can see coming to pass who they already are in Jesus.
A lot of times we don't feel that there's a safe environment for us to actually bring who we are to the table. So that's what we're talking
Well,
about.
that, and we sometimes we've created places in churches where as we're in the process of discovering what we've been made in Christ, because we've all been made into Christ's image, but we all carry a unique facet of who Christ is. But that's a journey of discovery, what I've already been made, and it's also a journey of making mistakes, because you're going to kind of make some mistakes while you figure out who you are. So what we don't create for people is a place for them to try and make the mistake and it be okay, and we go, oh, okay, well that might not be it then. Let's try this over here. I almost call it like the church needs to be a bit like a fitting room at a clothing store. Where you go in and you try stuff on and you come out like, I do when we go clothes shopping. The few times I go clothes shopping with her, and I'll put the jeans or the pants on and I'll come out of the fitting room and there she's standing and she's looking and she's going, now turn around. I don't know,
Too short. Too long.
To this, and so sometimes, in church, what we need to do is create a place where people can go try some stuff on, try giftings on, try things on, let them step out of the fitting room, and people without judgment or whatever go,
Making them feel tacky.
We can see that fits or that doesn't, just like you do when you clothes and shoes, when it fits, when it doesn't. But anyway, that's one. But the other one that connects to this whole thing with loneliness is God said, create a place where people can be known, where people can know one another. And it's interesting that came, especially in light of what I've just been discovering with this whole thing with loneliness, is people want to be known. And I think when we talk about combating loneliness, I'm not necessarily, although it might apply to some, about, you need to actually get out and have some friends. And that's true. But it's also, you need to, as you build these friendships, they need to be friendships where you can be known, where people can know. I say it all the time. You need to have people in your life that they know the song of your heart so well. They know your song, that if something happens in life and you forget the words of your song, they can sing your song back to you and remind you of who you are because they know you. So loneliness isn't just, okay, I don't have anybody. Loneliness, really, what they're defining is I might be surrounded by people, but nobody knows me.
Right. And I think that's really
what we're talking about. How do we, and that's what I want to talk about this week and in the week to come is how do we let people know us, and how do we begin to know people? How do we begin to get to know people beyond what we see on the outside, color of the skin, socioeconomics, job, whatever.
I think this transcends all of that.
Yeah, it does, very much so.
I think there's only people in every single sphere.
Every
demographic, every sphere.
So I would invite you, we'll here at the end of the show, we'll put in the stuff that we've mentioned. Take some time today, if you will, listen to that podcast, the Art of Manliness podcast that I'm referring to. Listen to the one she puts in there, okay? We'll make sure it's the right one. Listen to the podcast. If you want to, check out the book. Take the quiz, and let's have a conversation about what's going on in our culture around loneliness and how we
Yeah.
can be a part of the change, not only for our own lives, but for others.
Please, if you, when you're listening, when you're doing the test, when you're all the things, if the Lord brings somebody to your mind, if someone comes to mind, then that's probably the Holy Spirit leading you to go ahead and share. So share this with them, and then they'll see all the things, and then just say, hey, take the test, listen to the podcast, listen to this thing, and let's chat.
Yeah.
You know? So
And that would
let's
be
do
awesome.
that.
And then as always with this, you know, comments, questions about this. Yes, it's a manly podcast. Alicia, I listened to 2 manly podcasts.
But we're girls, that's what she's saying.
I know.
We have to listen to a manly podcast.
Yes, you have to listen to a manly. Listen,
actually really good.
Listen to us, Alicia. Listen.
It's actually really good, Alicia.
It's really good. It's one of them's called The Art of Manliness, and the other one is called The Great Man Podcast. They're great things. I need to actually share them with Kurt and with the other men in the church.
You know what?
They're great things to listen to.
Love eavesdropping on these sometimes, because if we're not careful, too many times the world starts defining manliness and manhood for us women. And a huge issue these days is how, as mothers of sons, how are we raising them?
Yes.
And am I actually calling out the man in them, or what I think society thinks should be a man? And that is, so yes, once in a while I listen in and I'm like, okay, good, we're on track.
Yeah, well, it's good, and especially, and again, this is, don't want to get off, we'll need to talk about this, but it's, you know, in the current culture we live in, the phrase toxic masculinity is now widely accepted, widely considered as true. And again, I know,
love our men.
I know that yes, there's an aspect of abuse that can come from men, but abuse from anybody is toxic.
Yeah.
Right, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're a dog. I mean, you know, if you have an abusive dog, it's toxic, right? I mean, dog runs up, bites people. That's a toxic puppy, right? I mean, but what my concern with this use of the word toxic manhood is we do what we tend to do is it's overgeneralizations, and we broad brush every man as toxic. That just being born a male means you're somehow twisted and busted and all of that kind of stuff.
An attack on identity.
Yes, that's just
that God gave us. So.
Oh, and it's back on this loneliness. You and some of this might be you got men because of this thought of societal toxic masculinity. So you'll have men not showing up. That's also part of this loneliness thing. If things, and I'm getting ahead of myself, anything that would cause us to hide our identity, anything that would cause us to not express our identity because we're afraid of whatever, how it will be perceived or rejection, any of that kind of stuff, those things will push us to loneliness that we're talking about. And that's both genders, male and female. And even beyond that, personality, even beyond that, gifting, even beyond that, just personal interests. You know, the fact that, you know, we all got people that you're like, oh, I can't, again, here's one. I can't talk about X with whoever because they will bash it, they will make fun of it, they will abuse it, they will do whatever. So therefore I hide that piece of me with whoever this person is. And many times those people are supposed to be close people. They're spouses, family, people who are supposed to be close friends. And I feel like, oh, I can't share that aspect of me because when I do, they jump on me, either in correction or in will making fun or whatever that word is. Those kind of things cause people to suck on the end, and we are isolating people. We are those that would. So one of, I guess, your tip, one of the things is as people come and you get to know people, we have to let them be who they are at this moment, right? They have to let them express their interests, their wants, their desires, their giftings, their personality, and us not make fun of them, but let's
just be that safe place.
Be that safe place for them to do that, but also let's value that. Anyway, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll put some stuff in there. Thanks everyone for joining. Again, love to hear your thoughts on this, again, about yourself or just questions in general that would help guide the conversation this week and next. That would be awesome. But without further ado, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
See you guys.
See you later.